Good afternoon, everyone. Could we just bow for a word of prayer? Our loving and kind Father, we thank you so much, Lord, for this opportunity that we can come before your throne once more to share in today's health seminar. Lord, we thank you that you are so concerned about our health, that you wish above all things that we would prosper and be in good health. So, Lord, we are here today to take in some information, much needed information about our health and well-being. And Father, we ask that your Holy Spirit will be amongst us now to take control, guide and direct our presenter. Bless every member present here today is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So this afternoon, we have in our midst Dr. Natalie Nash, and she will be presenting to us on the topic of diabetes. So I'd just like to introduce her to you. Dr. Nash, naturopathic doctor in original medicine, International Gospel Medical Missionary. She's the chairperson of the Medical Missionaries of South Caribbean Conference of Trinidad. She's a health educator, author, and director of natural healing through the laws of health. Natalie has been a medical missionary for over 12 years. Her presentations integrate the teachings of the Bible, inspiration, and good science to deliver a message of healing that is by far the most advanced and balanced in the teaching of health reform. Natalie's work takes her to churches, schools, communities, and the corporate sector, teaching men, women, and children how to take better care of their body, make healthy choices, and correct the root cause of their health challenges. She has taken the health message to countries and to the countries of the Caribbean, USA, UK, China, and every continent through online platforms. Natalie has co-authored Complete Health, Healing and Faith, Tasty Delights, and Natural Essentials, a tested and working protocol for COVID-19 variants, monkeypox, hand, foot, and mouth disease, as well as detox protocols for the spike protein. Natalie lives with her family in the Caribbean Twin Islands of Trinidad and Tobago. So, brothers and sisters, this afternoon present to you Dr. Natalie Nash.
Thank you, Sister Charmaine. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being here today and for coming out and sharing this moment. And you're here because it's an attestation that you are interested in your health. And one of the things that I like is to talk to individuals about how they can actually reverse their lifestyle conditions, how to take better care of themselves, and most important, how you can prevent yourself from getting sick. What are some of the preventative measures that we can put in place so that we continue to live a healthy life? So we like to make things simple. I don't like using big words and big analogies and so forth. I like to make things simple and practical so that you go away with a good understanding. Our topic of discussion this evening is on diabetes type 2 particularly. In Trinidad and Tobago, we find that diabetes is in the top 10 causes of death. And let me get to the information. The statistics doesn't really change much, but I know I took, So diabetes is listed as the second leading cause of death here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are at number 18 out of 50 countries. We're listed number 18 in ranking among 50 countries that's reporting worldwide. And what happens is that we're like on so high on the list. So when it comes to diabetes, we want to make sure that it doesn't come near you. And maybe you have diabetes today, or there's someone that you are close to, a neighbor, a family member who has diabetes, and so you'd be better prepared to share a word or two with such individuals. So we also want to look at ways in which we can prevent diabetes, because it is no respecter of persons. And so it doesn't matter your status in life or your aspirations, you find that diabetes can come to you. It doesn't come alone. Sometimes you have diabetes, and before you know it, the blood pressure is high. Before you know it, the cholesterol level is high, or there's arthritis, or there's obesity. And they're all what you would hear a term non-communicable conditions, meaning you don't get it from somebody contracted like you would get a flu. So it is something that's quite personal. Yet you would also see it is prevalent within families. There are folks who would say, high blood pressure runs in my family, but what is the custom of the family? You're eating the same way. So I've actually sat with couples, husband and wife, and the husband may say have diabetes, and the wife might have high blood pressure and cholesterol. Just an equation of the same root causes when you have the diet and the lifestyle and the, stresses of life and everything that they're both facing. And together they are, having these conditions. Now, looking at diabetes, there are different types of diabetes, type 1, 1.5, type 2, we have gestational diabetes and so forth, but we want to focus on diabetes type 2. One of the things to note is that if you have diabetes type 2, you can actually continue to have that at a high value. Your glucose levels could be so high, and for an extended period of time, you find that eventually it can lead to individuals getting diabetes type 3, where it affects the brain now, and you may know that to be something called Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's can be an end road for some folks with diabetes type 2. We don't want to get there. So you have to have measures to intervene. Now, if you go to a normal medical facility, they would tell you, exercise, get some more walking, watch your water, make sure you're drinking sufficient water, eat properly, and so forth. They'll tell you that. But I want to tell you a bit more, and I want to actually not be too nice. So, for example, folks would say, don't eat the red meat, but you can have the white meat. I'll tell you, take them all out altogether, because I don't want to see diabetes anywhere near you. So we're not talking about managing these conditions. We're talking about reversing them. As a matter of fact, the JAMA, Journal for American Medical Association, actually just recently was looking at a term called diabetes remission. You hear about cancer remission, but they are recognizing now and coming to tell people that you could have remission with diabetes. So it's something that we've been talking all along. It is reversible. It could be reversed. You weren't born with it, and so you can actually remove it, go back. So let's see, when it comes, so you have handouts, and I prefer to use the handout because this is what you would have to take home. And so how do you know that you're a diabetic? It may be that you don't feel well, or you're going on having your medical done just for a checkup, and they take the blood glucose reading, and it is elevated, it's high. Okay, come back maybe next month, and you go and you test again, and it's high. Maybe you go to a health fair, and it's like super high, like 296. Mom, what are you doing? Do you have diabetes? No. But when last did you check up on yourself? So when you have a reading that is consistently 126 and above in measure, then you can be termed to have diabetes type 2. So it needs to be a consistent reading about 126 and above for you to have diabetes type 2 diagnosed as that. Then if it is less than that, it's anywhere, say, between 100 to 125 and ranging there every day, then you could be termed as pre-diabetic, meaning you're on your way to becoming fully diabetic. And what happens is that there are signs and symptoms that are occurring, but you may not pay close attention to those things. And I'll tell you what are some of those symptoms. Now, another thing is that if you're pre-diabetic, let's work towards sending that reading into a normal range, which is anywhere between 65 to 99, that on a fasting test. So say you don't eat at night, you don't eat in the morning, and they go and they test your blood, and then they would say, okay, it is at 78, you're good. It is at 85, you're good. So if you're fasting, blood fasting, and glucose fasting or food fasting blood test shows up that you're within a range anywhere between 65 to 99, you're okay. And that's where you want a pre-diabetic to go back to. That's where you want a diabetic person to get back to. Is it possible? Yes, it is. So there are certain signs, there are certain symptoms. Now, one of the things is that you might feel thirsty. You have this excessive thirst. The mouth is dry and you just want to drink. It's because that glucose, and when I use the term sugar and glucose interchangeably. So if you hear me say sugar or you hear me say glucose, it's like sugar in the bloodstream. So your body recognize that there's a lot of glucose in your bloodstream, and it's like, bring the fire engine here. Let's get a lot of water, a lot of water to dilute the sugar. You make some juice, too sweet, you add more water. So we want to dilute this sugar in the bloodstream. And so it will, you want to drink a lot more water because sugar levels are high in your blood. Another symptom is, now because you have all this intake of water, you're going to go to the bathroom quite regularly. And so you're going down the highway and you have to stop. And that's when it's really bad. And the sugar levels are really high. You have to stop along the way, find every bathroom, and relieve yourself. So another thing is hunger. You have this excessive hunger, and it's because your cells are starved for glucose, for energy, and you feel hungry. So you'd want to be eating, and not seem satisfied. And you're having these regular meals, and a diabetic hunger, I'm told, is like a real hunger. You want to eat, and but it's because your cells need that glucose. Now, the glucose should be more in your cells. Your source of fuel, your source of energy is carbohydrates that breaks down into sugars. And so your body is fueled up on this. Now, if it is that you find that you have a diabetes situation running, what is actually happening is that you're retaining the glucose in your bloodstream, and it's not going into the cells. So there's an analogy that we usually like to use, and I want you to think of this room. Think of this room as being inside of your cells. All right, so we are made up of different cells throughout our entire body. So think of this room as you are inside of the cell, and on the outside there is where you have the bloodstream. Now, you may have heard about the pancreas. There's an organ in everyone called the pancreas. And the pancreas has a role to play. The pancreas will produce something called insulin. Insulin is a hormone. And so the pancreas will produce insulin. And insulin has a role to play in helping your body to get glucose inside of the cell. So insulin has, let's say insulin has two hands. Insulin will walk up. Insulin is produced by the pancreas, and insulin will come, travel along the bloodstream, and come to your cells and open, like that door, open the door, the receptor site of your cell with one hand. The next hand, it puts the glucose, the sugar, into the cell and shut the door. All right, so you picture that with me. Let's say we're inside of the cell here, and here is where you need that glucose to be stored so that you have energy. Every time we eat food, anybody, you eat food, you're hungry, but what would satisfy your hunger? You gotta eat. So when you eat, you feel better. When you eat, you have more energy. You can go on. Yeah, I could talk to you now, you know. Like you have more energy. So when you eat, in your bloodstream, everyone, that glucose is going to be traveling around, you know, from sources from the food. But it does not have to stay in the bloodstream all the time. It needs to find somewhere to go. So it stores inside of your liver cells, stores inside of your muscle cells, so that you would have eaten about 4 hours ago, and that energy, you're not as full, you're not as energetic. Your liver cells now would say, no problem, I have some glucose here stored for you. I'm going to spill it out as glycogen back into your bloodstream, and you now have more energy to continue for a longer period of time. What happens when people refuse to eat on time? They keep using up all of that storage, and soon your liver cells going to be like, you know, we don't have to put. But generally for everyone, we have our sugar level after eating will be elevated. But normally you have to store it in your liver cells, some in your muscle cells, and so forth. When you're running or you're walking, after a while, your legs can, you know, say you're going up some steps, you can feel that burn, you know, in your muscles. More glucose will be churned out so that you can keep going and have that energy to go. So that's how we store. We want to see more glucose inside of our cells rather than on the outside. If you took too much carbohydrates, you'll hear about calories, excessive amounts, eating lots of bread and pasta and rice, too much carbs, then your fat cells take on as well, and so you can put on weight. And you find with diabetes type 2, individuals have more weight on them. With diabetes type 1.5, they are more of a slender physique and sometimes could be misdiagnosed as a type 2. And so there's a little bit of variation for such folks. However, we want now to get your liver cells to work if they're not working, if they're not taking in glucose, and your muscle cells to take in glucose. So imagine we're in here, inside of here is where we are inside of the cell. So the sugar levels is running in the bloodstream, and the pancreas produces insulin. And with one hand, the insulin is going to come, open the door, put the sugar into the cell, and close the door back. Okay, is that clear? So we want the glucose inside of your cells, not all out on the outside there. Okay, so once we covered that, now here's an important point to note. There are certain things that can trigger your cells from not allowing the insulin to do its job. So your pancreas is producing insulin, but the insulin does not do its job well. Why? It's willing, but when it goes to the door, it's like, open, and the door isn't opening. Fat in the diet, high percent fat, and there's a research study where they looked at 65% high-fat diet, and fat on the body can cause your cells to be resistant to the insulin, can cause your cells to seal up that door with fat. So in this experiment that was done, they actually looked at getting a group of healthy young men, fed them a pound of sugar every day, and in 2 weeks, not one of them became diabetic. However, they took a group of healthy young men and fed them a 65% high-fat diet, and after 2 weeks, they were diabetic because their cells were now sealed up with the fat, not allowing the insulin to put the sugar into the cells, and so you found that sugar levels ran high within the bloodstream. When it runs high within the bloodstream, that is a problem. You would find it can cause damage to the inner lining of your blood vessels. Folks with diabetes end up having problems with their vision. The inner lining of your blood vessels is injured. You can have high blood pressure. Inner lining of your blood vessels, too much glucose, too much sugar can cause damage to that inner lining. And so, thank you. And so your cholesterol levels can go up because you start producing cholesterol to sort of help mend that damage and injury to the inner lining. Cholesterol levels can go up. So you find that your nerve endings, too much glucose in the bloodstream will damage your nerves. And so your feet feel sort of tingling and numb. Your hands just the same. And you're mashing a stone and don't even know it because you're not feeling that. And that now can cause you to have injury to your feet. And then you see the circulation of the blood is poor, and down in the lower extremities gets dark. So all those are signs, of, poor blood circulation. Could be as a result of diabetes or high cholesterol levels. And then there's some bruise, and because the blood isn't circulating well, you don't get nutrition to go to those areas. And before you know it, what's happening? The wound is there, getting bigger, it can get gangrene, and they've got to cut out the toes. No, we don't want to get so advanced. And unfortunately, some folks, they wait till they cut out a toe or two or more, and then now they're paying attention. I want to say wake up now, and let us pay attention now to prevent that from happening. So those are some of the things. Another sign is where because of the high insulin and the hormonal imbalance and so forth, is that sometimes you see a dark ring around the neck. Darkness, all here, and around the neck. And even in the creases, under the arms, in the creases of the person. On the knuckles, can become dark and velvety. So without even asking questions or talking too much to folks, you can just look at them, and there are these telltale signs of, high insulin levels, hormonal imbalance, could be too, but sometimes it's diabetes. And it happens before they're diagnosed as a diabetic. So it's like a warning light that's just flashing at you. And when you see that, sometimes young children now, they are overweight, and you see that darkness around the neck, and you're scrubbing, and it wouldn't come out. So watch it. Hormonal imbalance, yes, but many times it's diabetes that's coming. So what could we do to actually reverse? We talked a lot, and stress levels could cause all of those. But you want to focus on the diet. We want to focus on the lifestyle. So with making those changes, I want to give you some information first so that then we'll talk to our friend. So we want to look at the diet, and one of the sources of fat will be, what are some of the sources of fat? Let's hear. Butter, margarine, the cheese, the milk, the eggs, yeah? Meat kind, yeah. So if those are the things that would contribute to increasing fat in the diet, we consume it, it's causing an impact on our cells so that they don't function as they should. And before, as time progresses, it doesn't happen overnight, but as time progresses on that kind of diet and the lifestyle, you make the diabetes. That's what it takes to make one diabetic. And so we want to remove the animal products from our plate. Anything coming from the animal, we want to remove that from the plate. So be it the fish, the chicken, the turkey, the crab, the lobster, the shrimp, the cheese, the eggs, butter, ice cream, anything coming from animal source, it will elevate the fat levels and the cholesterol levels. It will elevate your blood pressure. We want to remove those things. The sardines, the mackerel, any of those, it will cause they're all from the same baseline root causes, inflammation in the body, all of these. So we talk about the removal of oils and not cooking with oil. It could be vegetable oil. It could be peanut butter. So you don't want to overdo on, if you're having peanut butter, good, but you don't want to overdo on that. Olive oil, coconut oil, that doesn't grow on a tree. It's processed, and it's in high concentrated amounts now. So if we're cooking our meals with oil, you're going to ingest it. It's easy to tell. Your skin would be oily, and that's happening on the inside as well. So that can contribute to sealing up. And again, it's over time utilizing a diet like this. For a diabetic, when we talk about reversing diabetes, we actually want to remove the oils from the diet. We'll get our fat sources from our nuts and our seeds and so forth. That's sufficient. You could eat the coconut, but as opposed to utilizing the coconut oil. And then watch the amount of coconut milk that you're taking, because that does the same. Again, it's concentrated amounts. So we would remove those fats from the diet. Diabetics do not consume sweets, no sugar, no juice. Juices are, again, concentrated form of sugar. If you ate a banana, that will be okay, because you have the fiber and everything that will raise your blood sugar, but gradually, which is acceptable, and your body can work with that, as opposed to you juice that banana, it sends your sugar level up, spiking up high. So you can eat your watermelon, but don't do a watermelon juice. You can eat your apples, but don't go into an apple juice. So you don't want to do juice. Your drink will be water, okay, water. And if you want to drink juice, that's okay, a nice fruit juice. Let us reverse the diabetes first, and then we would celebrate with some juice. Even grape juice, it sends that blood sugar level up high. You test before and after, super high. And another thing that we want to remove is caffeine, alcohol, tea, any caffeinated beverage or item, coffee and so forth. Remove those. They impair our cells' response to insulin. Anything that has vinegar in it. So you're looking at your condiments, your ketchup, your salad dressings that would have vinegar in that. You want to remove that from your diet. Vinegar is a more potent form of alcohol. You got different stages. You got wine, that fermented, you got alcohol, that fermented again to take you to a vinegar state. So folks, we do not use and recommend apple cider vinegar. Whatever you might have been using apple cider vinegar for, to flavor the pot, to try to lose weight, to burn fat, you can achieve the same thing with lemon. God has provided that for us. We do not utilize fermented items that could impair our brain function. Vinegar is, think of alcohol gone bad. It's fermented at another level to give us vinegar, be it white, apple cider, balsamic, any of the kind. Another thing, it can cause you to be anemic. It bursts your red blood cells. So you want to extend, and it can cause damage to your teeth. If you're ingesting lemon, always use a straw to get your lemon in. So if you're utilizing lemon, which is also written somewhere here on the paper, like in the morning time, you would drink 2 to 4 glasses of warm water, a nice way to hydrate your system. But in one of those, and I like to use like a half glass, you can put in 2 teaspoons or a tablespoon of lemon juice in that. But you use a straw to drink it so that it doesn't get to your teeth because it can cause your teeth to be sensitive or the acid is too much for your teeth. When it goes into your body, it changes into an alkaline form, which is quite helpful. Stimulate the colon in the morning with that warm water, give you a nice bowel movement. And it helps to cleanse your liver on a daily basis. But the vinegar, no. The pink Himalayan sea salt we talked about, you get a nice range of minerals in it, 84 trace minerals. So that is the best type of salt to use as opposed to the white table salt. Individuals who have high blood pressure, we will also recommend the pink Himalayan sea salt because it has a wide range of minerals. You don't have sodium too high. That really will carry up your blood pressure. And you got potassium, calcium, and so forth. Another thing is to make sure you have sufficient fiber in your diet. So eating fiber foods, what are some of the fiber foods? Where do we get that? In your fruits, your vegetables, provision, yeah? So making sure you have those at your meal times for breakfast and for lunch. Lots of fiber. You also have fiber in your grains, in your brown rice. And let me show you what I have here. Now, with diabetics, some folks would say, I don't want rice, to eat rice. And the white rice, yeah, that changes into carbohydrates and glucose, simple sugars. Quickly, it will elevate your sugar levels. The brown rice works a little better because there's fiber on it. And that fiber, well, it's a complex carbohydrate now. It takes a longer while for your sugar levels to be elevated. So this is one that I have, brown rice. That you may find different kinds out there on the market, but if you utilize this, that would be good. So if you have to cook it on a stovetop, a low heat fire, just let it cook, simmer nicely in your rice cooker, it would work well. So I'd show you that some more in a couple seconds, a couple minutes. Some other foods that we want to add is like flaxseed. You know, flaxseed, you need to break the seed in order to get the medicinal value. And 2 tablespoons of flaxseed, you can just put that on your beans daily, and that's going to help you to get good flaxseed. That tends to lower sugar levels, blood pressure levels when they are elevated, cholesterol, sweeping and cleaning your system. Lecithin, you saw that at the back. Sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds are excellent items to have. And one of the things to note is that as a diabetic, you should have a glucometer to test your glucose levels at morning and at night. Early morning when you wake up, and last thing at night before you go to sleep. By the time you begin to implement the recommendations here, really put it into gear, you would find that your sugar levels will start to reduce. In fact, if you started today, you have diabetes today and you started, by next week and before the week is ended, your sugar levels will begin to read lower by morning times when you wake up. It works really fast. In less than a week, you can see your sugar levels reduced, and consistently that way. When it comes to the testing, if it is that you test at night and your glucose levels, it's 80 and below, eat a fruit, eat an orange to help to bring it back up, because you don't want to go to sleep and your sugar levels are already too low, because when you're resting, you find that your glucose levels would normally go under. So you don't want that to be too low, and then you go into a diabetic coma while you're sleeping. If it is that you have tested and it is about 140 nanograms, then you find that you need to watch the amount of medication that you're taking. If you're accustomed taking 2 of the metformin, or you're accustomed injecting insulin at night before you go to sleep, and it's all there in the paper, if it is less than 140, you should be writing down all of these numbers for yourself in a book so you can take it back to your physician and show what readings you're getting in the morning and in the night, and they will adjust the medication for you. But if you're under 140, you go and take full amount of your medication. It can make your glucose levels drop too low in the night while you sleep. Important aspect for those who are diabetic is to make sure that you're walking every day. I tell folks you can literally walk your way out of diabetes. So you need to walk. How much is that? At least 1 hour of continuous walking can be quite helpful. So at least 1 hour of continuous walking can help you to burn those fats around the cells, making your insulin be able to do its work again, bringing the glucose back into the cells. That's what happens. And then when you go walking, you also help to burn up some of that sugar within the bloodstream. So what you find is that your glucose levels drop. I've had individuals say at nighttime their sugar levels are a little bit elevated. I say go walk. Just walk in the veranda back and forth 30 minutes. You come back and you test, sugar levels are lowered. And one of the pointers is that at the end of your meal, after eating, you take a 15 minutes digestive walk. That could be right up and down in your home, around the house for 15 minutes. Don't sit down, digestive walk. What that does, it helps your body to digest the meal properly, and that works for everyone, not only if you're diabetic. It's a nice, helpful practice. As you move, your food interacts with the gastric juices, hydrochloric acid, and so it helps to break down that food properly. A circulatory rock is also important. If you find that down in your ankles, lower feet, it's dark, poor blood circulation, hold on to something sturdy. like the burglar bars or some sturdy bed head or something, and you go up on your tippy toes, down and back on your heel. So let me come to the front. It's up on your tippy toes. Okay, let's see. Up on your toes, down and back on your heels. Up on your toes, down and back. So you roll back on your heels. So hold something sturdy. And when you do that, you're actually pushing blood down into your feet. Going back on your heel is important because it squeezes a little valve right behind in your calf to send the blood back up to the heart. So that's what we call a circulatory rock to help improve the circulation. So whatever condition you have, circulation poor in the feet, you can do that. How many of those do you need to do? Anywhere like 300 to 400 of that a day. Well, the first day you do it, you'd say, oh, my feet are killing me. But you just do it in batches, 50 at a time. You're talking to somebody on the phone and you're doing it. You're watching something, you have your moment and you're doing it. As you repeatedly do that, it's going to help to improve the circulation of the blood back in your feet. You need it there. And eating on schedule, eating on time, at least 7 every day. You eat on time, and then you also want to avoid no snacking in between. What is eating on time? We want to space out our meals at least 5 hours apart. And so if you ate between, say, in the morning, like 6 a.m., between 6 and 7, then you come 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Your next meal time can be between 12 and 1. Then you count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your next meal time will be at 6 in the evening, between 6 and 6:30. And so when you do that, you find that you're able to digest your food and not have any problems. Because every time you eat, sometimes diabetics or folks may think I need to have these small meals. But every time you eat a meal, you're sending your sugar levels up high. And so you're worried, why isn't it down? It's how you have sugar in your blood, glucose in your blood. All right, so diabetics do well on their meal plans, 3 meals a day. Some do even choose to do 2, and they do really well on that. And make sure you have sufficient water, and we talk about your water intake. There are a couple. Bedtime, go to sleep before 10 p.m. Don't go to bed late at night. And avoid stress at all costs. Be happy, don't worry. Okay? So choose to not worry. You can't afford to worry. And most of the times we worry about things that we speculate that has no benefit, wouldn't help the situation, and wouldn't change a thing. Sometimes we're worrying about people and we cannot change them. And so you put everything into the hand of the Lord and take one day at a time, okay? So not to worry or fret about tomorrow, one day at a time. So there's some more notes on it about how to make sure to take care of your feet and examine them. There are a couple herbal agents. You can actually, without even using any herbal agent, get your blood sugar numbers lowered. Because of the changes that you can make to your diet, because of the changes that you can make, you're now walking every single day. And there are individuals who will be quite ambitious. They walk in the morning for 1 hour, and they come back and they walk in the afternoon again for another hour. They would see their numbers come down really fast. But again, be careful with the amount of medication that you take when you're doing that, because that will lower glucose levels in and of themselves, but you're doing natural medicine, natural lifestyle medicine to get that down. And you got to stick with the changes. What does it take to make one diabetic? If we're not exercising, not eating the proper meals, not going to sleep on time, stressing and so forth, that can make you diabetic. So as you reverse, you live on that path. I just want to show you in the back of your sheet, you'd see here with the foods, And I have little sample foods that you can come and play around and ask questions if you wish. But think of your plate sort of, cut like that. And if on 1/4 of the plate you have your carbohydrates, let's see what we have here. What could we actually cook? The next 1/4 of your plate, you can have some other things. Now, one of the principles, we want to start off eating live food at the start of the meal. So we have these Portugals, oranges. You want live food at the start of the meal because they give you the enzymes for digestion. They're easy to be digested before you bring in the cooked food. You could also have bananas, if you wanted there. But say we have that today. And then half of the plate, you're going to cook up your pumpkin. And if you cook your pumpkin, half of the plate, you have your pumpkin or fiber kind of food. You can have pumpkin, and you could cut up some Christophine in there as well. And you put your nice little seasonings, natural seasonings, and you eat up. And then the other half of the plate, you cut it in two. You have your brown rice, and then you have your beans, your cooked beans, and you have that. So basically, that's what you're going to eat. Oh, you can also do cucumbers. So you can swap this out, and you can cut up your cucumbers nicely. And you're eating all of this. You can eat it raw. And then you can cook your pumpkin. And then at the end of your meal, you have a handful of pumpkin seeds I have here. Okay, so pumpkin seeds, you want fats in your meal, a closed handful of seeds or nuts. So be it almond nuts, walnuts, pecans, and so forth, a handful at the end of your meal. If you eat like this for breakfast, you're not going to feel hungry until your lunch meal, which is 5 hours later. So when I said 5 hours just now, people are like, oh, what? But you're not going to feel hungry. Do you think you'd feel hungry 5 hours less? In 2 hours' time, you'd feel hungry after eating like this? Hardly, no. And that's one of the reasons for having the fats at the end of your meal. You can also, if you did a nice bread, like what you saw prepared, and you have your peanut butter on it, and you ate that for your fats at the end of the meal, you will not feel hungry until your next meal time. When you eat like this for breakfast, and then you come and you eat similarly like this for lunch, maybe we can take this out, and then you can have some carrots. You can actually have cauliflower, and you can have that there. And then you have lettuce. So lettuce at the start for your raw item. And then you have your carbs, your protein, your tofu, your nice tofu that's being prepared, your omelette. If you did bread, and then you have your omelette, and then you have your nuts at the end. You have your vegetables, and you have your lettuce. If you ate like that for breakfast, or you ate like that for lunch, you will not feel hungry until your next meal. In the evening, you do not have any of the fat content in the evening. No peanut butter, nut butter, nor nuts and seeds in the evening meal for supper, because it takes so long to be digested, and you're going to go to sleep 6 o'clock. You're going to go to sleep before 10. So you have something light for supper time. For supper time, you can do bananas. You do fruits in the evening for supper time. Even if you had a bread, you can actually make your natural, you can have bread with some pumpkin, and that's it. You don't have the nuts and the seeds at the end of supper time. Okay, so that can work well for you, and that's how you're able to have your meals and avoid getting sick. Simple foods, not too many combinations and that sort of stuff. If you had here, instead of rice, you can have corn. You can have, there are different types of rice. You can have, if you did pasta. Some folks could tolerate pasta and do well with macaroni, pasta. So you can have that. You can have granola as an item that has made from the oats and so forth, and you can eat those. No dried fruits for diabetics. Prunes and raisins and so forth, they're concentrated sugars. So we want to keep away from that until you reverse, you get your numbers down. And once you maintain this, you will not go back to be diabetic. All right? Once you maintain eating like this, your blood pressure levels can be reduced. Your cholesterol levels will be normal. And you do not have to run high blood cholesterol levels, putting yourself at risk for a heart attack or a stroke or blood clots, as the case may be. And that's what it takes. They're all same root causes, and by removing those items can be helpful. So my friend who would like to volunteer, I just want to give you, if you come forward, please. Yes, sure.
My mouth was bigger. Yes, 2020, I was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, right? I changed my diet. I come off the meat, egg, fish. I don't know what I'm eating right now, but I suffer with osteoarthritis. But when I take my blood sugar on morning, it's like 100, 103, 112. Well, I had to take it for this week here. I had medication and then I take it and it was like 116, 136. So it's still high or some kind of something. So it have to be lower than 100.
So the question is about being pre-diabetic, and if first thing in the morning when you wake up, you're reading those levels above 99, then yeah, you're in pre-diabetic stage. What may mean, again, follow the principles that we have shared here, and also doing a liver cleanse can be helpful to you. Yeah, so if you did a liver cleanse, things like milk thistle, could be a nice item. Burdock could cleanse your blood and your liver at the same time. If you run through a bottle of that herb, then after a while, you find sometimes if your liver isn't functioning well, you can get different kinds of readings that doesn't match your efforts. And so doing a liver cleanse can be helpful to you. But you mentioned that your knee is having some problems, and so it would be important for you to walk. Do you exercise? Do you walk? So you put on your mask, I can't read your lips, not hear you. Right. How much sunlight do you get? Okay. All right. Well, we need to. Sounds like some inflammation situation going on to match those sort of things that you described. Are you total vegetarian, plant-based? Okay. So trying tells me that you have some stuff in between, now and again. And the thing is, you know, sometimes folks would say, well, I don't really, you eat fish? Not really. Sometimes just once in a while, now and again. that is enough to keep your condition just where you don't want it to be. That is enough to have your numbers reading high. That is enough to maintain inflammation in the system. When you eat these flesh food items, it remains in your bloodstream for at least 2 weeks. And then your next once in a while happens again, and you're just bridging every time and keeping it elevated in your system. So it doesn't help. So for you to break it, you gotta stop and not add those. Every time you add it, you're increasing arachidonic acid. That increases your pain levels and inflammation in the body. So we have our nice friend here who has volunteered. And please ask questions in between too. Sir, how are you today?
I am doing better by the grace of God.
Okay, and what is your name? It's on.
My name is Christine Rathbeer.
Christine
Rathbeer.
Rathbeer. So, Mrs. Rathbeer, we're happy that you're volunteered and you're diabetic.
Pardon?
You are diabetic?
Yes, I am a
And so, come this way. And how long have you been a diabetic?
39 years.
Okay. Did you test your blood sugar reading this morning?
All
Come a little closer.
right. I did not test my blood sugar this morning.
When last you tested?
I tested last night.
What was the reading?
The reading was 129.
Okay, so 129. Are you on medication?
Yes, I'm on insulin, 70/30.
Okay.
I am on once a day, sometimes, or twice for the day.
All right. And so, Mrs. Rathbeer, do you walk on a daily basis?
Well, right now I'm not walking because I did some herbal treatment recently in Siparia, and I fell and I hit my head at one time, and I had gotten a mild stroke.
Oh.
And I was sent to do some herbal treatment. And well, I'm recuperating at this time. So I know I do a little walking inside the house and little tippy-toeing and do 300 tiptoes.
Okay.
And I would lie in the bed and my legs will go either side. So I do a little exercise and I do a little meditation exercise. And that's about it until I said from Monday I have to start walking. Tomorrow I will start walking.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you walk, within the parameters that could be safe for you?
Yes, I walk where it could be safe.
Don't go too far, but the more walking that you do, the better it would be for you. There are times when individuals could be challenged, and I would say, walk, give as much as you can. Then you rest, but every time you do it, your body gets stronger.
Yes, yes.
And you're better able to make the hour. But one of the things we've seen is that 1 hour makes a difference. Folks with high blood pressure, 1 hour makes a difference. At 60 minutes makes the difference. If you do less, you don't accomplish much. So I'd encourage you to do that walking. Are you over 70 years by chance?
No, I am 69 years now.
Okay, so you're almost there.
Yes.
70 years and 10. So one of the things that we found is that individuals, when they are 70 and above, even though they get sunlight, they don't make as much vitamin D as when they are younger. So as you're aging and you're getting closer to that, getting sunlight is great, and there are things that the sunlight will do to us and for us that nothing else can. But we would also encourage that you take a vitamin D supplement. So you see the falls. If we are vitamin D deficient, it's easy for us to fall. It's easy for us to get osteoporosis, where you have those porous bones. And so we don't want to get into that state. So we're supplementing with a vitamin D. And if you took like about 10,000 international units on a daily basis that can help, but still get the sunlight. And so we want to get the sunlight between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., 9, 10, good time to go out in the sun. I like those morning hours because it's cooler, breeze blowing, and you can walk during that time and you get sunlight, fresh air, and your exercise. So much of what we talked about earlier is what I'd like you to put into place by eating on time. Do you eat on your meals, have a time for your meals?
No, I don't eat on time. That is something. I don't eat on time.
How many meals a day do you eat?
I have 2 meals for the day, morning and evening.
What time it's supposed to be?
Well, my meal time is about 9 o'clock in the morning, and in the evening, about 6 o'clock or half 6.
Okay, so 9 to 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's too late. And I would like to see you eat before 3 p.m. By 3, you need to be finished eating.
Yes.
Because one of the things with Ms. Rugby, she's senior. Once you pass 45 years, 40 years, that's way long gone for you. You find our digestion begins to go slow.
Yes, sure.
And so you would eat, and your digestion is slow. So you don't want to overeat, and neither do you want to eat too close in the evening, that was too close to nighttime, because then you would get acid reflux and indigestion and so forth. All right, so I would prefer if you ate between 8 and 9, then 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. You can eat between 2 and 3 in the evening, and that's it. That's your 2 meals for you right there. Okay, so I'm going to write it in this paper when we're done talking. So your breakfast time is now going to be at what time?
9 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Right. Do the 8 so that you can have your second meal by 2.
The second by 2.
Yes. Well, she's accustomed of having 2 meals, and that was spaced out 8 hours already. So she has what it takes to have that. If folks wanted to have it, that snack in the evening, I'll say go on the 3 meals. You start your breakfast earlier, you're able to have your lunch, and you have that comfortable something to eat in the evening at 6. The body gets accustomed to routine once we set it in place. And then again, if you ate a substantial breakfast, which is your fueling up for your day, if you were to go on an airplane and it didn't fuel properly, you'd be so scared to think it would drop in the sea. And so we're fueling up for the day. Let us eat a proper breakfast.
Yes.
It's not just a piece of bread and some tea. It's not just 2 doubles. You know, we're not promoting doubles here. But if you ate a proper breakfast, then you're going to have a proper lunch. And if her breakfast at 8 o'clock, it's substantial, as we show in the chart. And your lunch meal comes like this. You're not going to have granola and fruit alone for your evening meal. All right, you need something of substance, because then again, we need that variety of different foods. And by having good, proper, balanced meals, you're able to achieve that, as opposed to just a piece of bread with peanut butter and close up. You know, so you want good amount of foods. And somewhere, yeah. That's a problem. So the question was about juicing in the morning, doing a green juice. And so one of the things with our vegetables is that we need to cook them. And eating kale and juicing it and that isn't cooked, that's going to be a problem in that it can actually prevent her body from absorbing iodine. And when that happens, you end up having iodine deficiency conditions. Your thyroid could be impacted, and that can cause a number of different things to play out in you. So when it comes to our vegetables, we want to cook our veggies. None of our veggies we would eat raw except lettuce. They are hard. Take a cabbage, for example, and you shell out that layer of the cabbage. Feel it. It's pretty tough. Try to pull it apart. You have to put some strength. When you chew that, it's going into your body. The nutrients is actually within the fiber. By cooking it, we release that nutrients from the fiber and make it in a bioavailable form for us to be able to uptake the nutrients. Making things like coleslaw, where you just grate your cabbage and your carrot and so forth, the nutrients is within still. Biting and chewing does not give you sufficient as compared to the heat now, that the heat will be able to give you what it takes. So no, don't choose your juice. Eat your vegetables. Don't do your juice. Eat instead. Eat your food. You need a proper meal, a proper breakfast. And then you eat those veggies that you have there, you eat it. I know you're working on trying to reduce the inflammation, but again, if you were to eat your food and chew your food properly and that sort of thing, you will get what you need to get in there. Yeah.
All right, okay. I'm a bit concerned about the time she's finishing half her last meal at 3 and she's on insulin. What time are you taking the insulin?
Usually I will take the insulin just about half an hour before I eat in the morning.
Right, so you said you're taking insulin in the morning and then you're taking insulin in the night.
No, usually I would take the insulin in the night.
In the night?
No.
No. So what is the amount you're having in the morning?
Well, it used to be twice a day, but now I am on 35 units.
35 units?
Yes.
And that is half an hour before you have breakfast?
Yes.
And then your last meal will be at 3 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Just your opinion on that, please, would be appreciated.
Okay. Yeah, so what is already happening with her at this stage is that she's already been doing some things right. And so she started off by having insulin twice a day, but now she has been reduced to once a day. So by doing that, she's been doing things pretty okay and not running into that kind of situation. But what you're looking at is that her ending a meal at 3 and then have all through the night till the next morning. Now, once she begins to do her walking and her exercise again and get the liver storing glucose again, that will now be able to spill back into the bloodstream during the night when she's sleeping, which is what happens. So sometimes for some individuals, if they are practicing these principles, you find that in the morning, their first reading could be elevated. And they would be like, what's happening here? It read low for a while, and then now it's elevated. It's because the liver is doing its work and functioning well again and putting that glucose back into in the bloodstream, and you could see it in the morning a bit elevated. So the whole program works well as long as you're doing all things that is recommended. What time do you go to sleep at night?
Sometimes 8, sometimes 7.
Okay, 8 and 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so do it, yeah, 7, 8 is good. More reason why you should not really have had that meal so late in the evening as you did prior to that. But 8 o'clock could be good. So what I'd like you to do, you have devotional time in the evening? All right, just before bedtime? All right, good. So what about your water intake? How much water do you drink? How close?
More than 8 glasses at times.
All right, so excellent. And do you drink mouthfuls at a time?
Yes, I drink mouthful at a time. Sometimes I will drink the whole bottle one time.
Okay, come.
Alright?
I would like you to, the whole bottle one time in the mornings, right?
Yes.
When you wake up. That's it. But during the day?
Yes, I drink water a lot. I
During-
have a big cup, I drink.
Okay. So
I
during
drink.
the day, I want you to drink the mouthfuls at a time, mouthfuls rather than gulp.
Okay.
Okay, because
Yes.
then you run to the bathroom quickly. So for everyone, when in the morning, first set of water, bathing the inner system, hydrating. You can do gulp. But in the daytime, you do the mouthfuls at a time. Mouthfuls at a time, your cells will absorb the water and be hydrated, and that's what we need. And, okay, so I'm gonna give you this. And you're on medication. There are certain herbal items that can work well. We have Genemia sylvestre, if you wanted to utilize a herbal agent. And we also have another combination of a supplement called blood sugar. And that actually has like Kariley, what you would call like bitter gourd, Kariley in it. That can help. Anything bitter will also lower sugar levels. So if folks who wanted to make a bush tea, it's bitter, it can help to reduce your glucose levels. Bay leaf, kelp as a seaweed vegetable is also helpful. Fenugreek, all the items listed in there.
I use fenugreek. I make a cup of tea with the fenugreek too.
Oh, and you drink that in the daytime?
Yes.
Okay, good. So those are things that would help her, that would cause her to be less dependent on the insulin, which can be causing injury to the body with long periods of use. Continue to be consistent with testing, because as you begin to put these things into practice, your sugar levels, you would see it would start to lower. You need to take that to your medical provider, and they will reduce the amount of insulin for you once they're seeing that you're doing well. And once you understand, I do this, I see my levels go up. I do this, my level is normal again. Then you would start believing in what you're doing, and you would be able to go away having no diabetes. Is that your goal?
Yes, that is my goal. I want to be able to get off of all insulin, so I'm trying my best. And when I went for my treatment, I stayed there about 3 weeks. Yes, I was mostly out of my medication.
Right, excellent.
So I know I can get off by the grace of God.
Amen. Amen. So I'll bring this to you. Just let me put 1 or 2 notes on it, and by God's grace, you will be kept well. Thank you for volunteering today.
Thank you, Mary.
All right. Steve Randy. Okay, thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions, my number I can give you. I think it's on the handout. It's on the handout there. 724-4898. 724-4898. and you would be able to send a message, works well on WhatsApp. It's on WhatsApp as well. And ask questions. And I'd like Sister Ragbir, you can keep in contact so I can guide you with any questions that you may have. And we'd like to hear from you again and see how you're doing. All right, thank you.
So I'm not sure about you all, but I was really informed. It was an interesting presentation, right? And I know you all are a bit tired, but bear with us. We just finished. The bread is finished. The pizza is almost done. The patties is almost done. So after such good mental food, you're going to get some good physical food. So with that said, I would like to just take this time to thank Dr. Nash again. We have something for you, but I would give that to you soon. But I'd just like to take this time to thank her for very salient, informative, rich information that is very practical, especially. I really and thoroughly enjoyed it. And she's not such a nice person. We spoke over the past 2 weeks and back and forth, and it was a really interesting rapport. So without further ado, we'll take a few minutes. If anyone needs water, I can bring it for you. If you need to go to the washroom, feel free. But I'll just like to take this time to introduce our next speaker. You know, I watched her profile picture twice because I said she could pass for, you know, my aunt or Tessa or Tosca, somebody. So I really feel like we close. So this is Sister Mahalia Alexander. She's a nurse manager / occupational health nurse at Atlantic LNG. An occupational health nurse, licensed midwife with over 20 years in various specialties in nursing and the oil and gas industry. Nurse Mahalia was one of the first cohort of oncology nurses in Trinidad and Tobago, earning a BSc in oncology nursing in 2009. Her love for teaching pushed her to pursue a master's in education, graduating from the University of the West Indies in 2010. Nurse Mahalia holds the position as Health Ministry Secretary at Captiville SDA 4C District. I hope I did justice. Okay, good. And she is the happy wife of Rodney Alexander and proud mother of music. Okay. She's an avid reader and loves to watch Netflix movies and sewing in her free time. So she's well experienced. So she's going to come and speak to us for a bit on cancer. And immediately after, we'll do a few presentations and head to the back to enjoy the meals that we would have seen this morning. So bear with us. As she sets up, you can take a few minutes to go to the toilet and so forth, but come back because the best way to take care of your health is to learn more about and better taking care of your bodies and these various diseases. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Nurse Mahalia.
Good afternoon. Okay, I see you all have something in common with Captiville. We don't like to come out on a Sunday. Don't tell Pastor Cato I said that. Hello? Yeah. I'm still trying to set up. Yeah. The PowerPoint presentation is up. So probably if I'm seeing it on the screen, that would help. So Joe said, I look like an auntie, but I think we can be sisters. And sisters, let's put sisters in position because I don't know how I'm going to top Dr. Nash. Could you give her a hand, please? It was really, really an excellent presentation. And while she was teaching us, I messaged Joe. I said, I really don't like coming after such pertinent information. It's not wise to cheat the membership of the information. Because what she did for us there, I can hear the wealth of experience and years. Fortunately, unfortunately, I would have studied diabetes as my master's project. And in the healthcare system, it is one of the most troubling diseases for us to treat. It's almost as though if you don't have diabetes, what next? And then, well, you come into my specialty, cancer, that everyone seems to be so fearful about, right? So I hope that when I leave here, I really do not like having such small audiences, but it is what it is, and I have to make do. You all can hear me without the mic? Not really. Oh, thank you very much. If I could get this in the this as well. Connect. See? I just want to tell her thank you, but I'm not seeing her. So let me give you all a little story about this country girl from Point Fortin. So I took about 2 hours to come up to be with you all today. I was not originally an Adventist. So I always mention my husband, Rodney. I believe everyone knows him in the Adventist faith. He's a bassist, tall, really handsome guy. I'm not being biased, it's the truth. Amen. And thank you. So before, because he's a very patient person, so he didn't just push Adventism down to me, but I would come to church on Sabbath, wearing earring, everything. He allowed me to be me before I came into the faith and accepted it. And what I had liked the most was the health message. And he was like, you know, if you really want this, you could be the health secretary one day because you like to talk about health so much. So I guess he saw something. Yes, and I am here. Why oncology? Because oncology is the study of cancer. So we got married, and took a while before we had our first son. And he was born on my birthday, the 16th of January. And a few months after that, probably about August around there, he started to cry. And this child never cried. And we had a long, tiring system with the healthcare system. I was already a registered nurse. So to hear your colleagues say, I'm not going to stick a fat baby, because he was fat and chubby and really cute, like a real little Tobago dumpling. And he was diagnosed with cancer around Christmas time of that year. So and I remember Rodney asking me, so what would happen to him? My husband expects me, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm also a nurse. What will happen to him? And you know what I said? He's going to have surgery and he's going to be okay. Oh my, I was so wrong. So after he lived for about 3 years, and something about our birthdays, he passed away 12 days before. Yeah. And that same year, I got the opportunity to study. And the principal of UE said, why not get closure? Because she happened to be a mental health nurse. Because nurses have so many, the basic is registered nurse, but we build so much different specialties as we go up. She said, why not do oncology to get closure? And this is when my journey started with oncology. So I'm very passionate when I speak about it. Really, really passionate, and I always do it in the memory of my son, our son, Roshon Rodney Daniel Alexander. Yeah? So I want you all to communicate with me, right? I know it is Sunday afternoon, you prefer to be home, because Sunday is the busiest day home for me, because Sabbath, we're in church. So Sundays, I didn't even cook today. So I hope I get some of them delicious pizza. It's ironing and cleaning and grocery and you name it. So to be here means you all want to be here. And again, I'm going to mention Dr. Nash, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, why did Joe do me this? Because the information that she shared will have some input in what I'm going to say as well. Because by show of hand, how many of you all know someone who may have had cancer? Yeah. And have cancer. I remember, our hands up in the back as well. I remember growing up in the village. My village in Point Fortin is what Tubal Uriah Butler Buzz discovered, New Village. So it was a mixture of Grenadians, Vincentian, a nice little callaloo pot, a melting pot. And you would hear someone say, Miss Violet passed with the big C. That is my information with cancer growing up. And Miss Violet will sit down and say, Papa God, please take me now, because she's Grenadian. And then you'll hear she got the big C. What I want you all to do, don't be afraid. Because God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. And one of my favorite verses in the Bible, if not my favorite, is John 3:2. I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper. So it is written, and we have faith that God's word do not return to him void. Correct. And if he wished for all of us to prosper and be in good health, not only cancer, just as Doctor was telling us about diabetes. So we more or less, the Holy Spirit bring it together, right? Why we need to eat well, why we need to exercise, why we need to walk, why we need to drink water. I'm listening to her, I'm like, I need to cut out some of them things from this diet, right? But again, we teach each other, right? Okay, good. So you all are seeing behind there, lovely. So jumping straight into it because we have things to eat after. Right. So what is cancer? What I told you about Miss Violet, who said she had the big C, and I told my husband, oh, he's just going to have surgery and he's going to be okay. But this thing is more. It's not the big C. It's a large group of diseases, over 200. And I think by now probably it's more. Characterized by uncontrolled growth and spread of abnormal cells. I like to make things really simple, as Dr. Nash would have said. So I want you all to remember the simplicity of it. You're building a house. You need to have a foundation. And if you all always up in your husband's business when you're doing anything like me, the red block is when you're going up, but the gray block is for the foundation, right? So, picture one block, just one block. This one block is your cell. Your body is made up of millions of cells. But it starts with one, just one. And a normal cell, let me take the next picture here. So I have that one block there. Within 2 to 6 weeks, will multiply. So let us take, for instance, a red blood cell. The function of the red blood cell is to carry oxygen throughout the body. So it does that. It does that well. So this cancer cell now is an abnormal red blood cell. What will happen? It's going to go rogue. So between 1 to 60 days is the normal lifespan of a red blood cell. Just one. It will multiply and go through these stages, die and leave the body. Not Mr. Cancer red blood cell. Within 2 to 6 weeks, it will have billions of cells. Am I good? I'm good, right? Oh, it's not moving. Oh, thank you. Right. Yeah, thank you. No, I'm not seeing up there. So, for instance, whatever may be the issue when you get to the hospital, it may be a random blood test. It may be you have a swelling, a pain. Well, it's breast cancer month, so I'll speak about breast cancer in a bit. When they take that sample to look for that cell, the reading, it is out of this world. So you know something is wrong. And then it will prompt us, healthcare practitioner, to go further to figure out what is wrong. But not only there is this huge amount of cells, it is not doing what it's supposed to do. It crowds. It's like a bad squatter. You're moving all your friends, your family, you're playing loud music, you're eating up all the food, you're not flushing toilet, you're using up all the water, you have no place to hang up your clothes. So everything that normal cell is doing, this cancer cell is not doing that. And then it's millions. So just imagine how horrible that is. Hence, you would see swelling, you would see the blood test would be very wrong, the results will be out of this world. That is basically just what cancer is. It's the abnormal growth and spread, the uncontrolled growth and spread of abnormal cells. Simple. That took me 2 years to know. So, lose control over growth and multiplication. Do not self-destruct. So after 60 days, it's not to pack up and leave. It's not going anywhere. And most importantly, it crowds out the healthy cells. So whatever your cell's supposed to do, it cannot function anymore. It loses that function. It's unable to do it. I mentioned that. This is just showing some types of cancers and how we classify it. So like the cells that covers the internal and external body surfaces, we call it carcinoma. The cells that covers the muscles and the bones, sarcomas. I know leukemias are more common, those are blood. The lymph nodes, can I get the pointy thing? It's like your lymphatic system is like an Uber system in your body. It has different lymph nodes under the arm, around the neck, the groin. So those are the lymph nodes. But the thing is, these squatters, these cancer cells, they like the lymph node. Because once they get into the lymph node, remember I said it's the Uber system, it tends to move and now infiltrate other body organs. So what would have started in the breast, now will go to the bone, will go to the lungs, will go to the kidneys, will go to the liver. Because they're moving. It's so much of them. Most important slide. But as I advise persons, please do not have a checklist. Because some persons may have everything, some person may have one thing, and some person may just, because we all are different. So for instance, when I am treating, well, when I was in the hospital, I'm no longer in the public setting. You would see patients sitting down and sharing notes. I have lung cancer. I have lung cancer too, but why are you using A and they're giving me B? Like, you know somebody here? It is individualized. It is individualized. Because your building block, your cell, your genetic makeup is unique to you. So don't take this and say, well, nurse Mahalia, see, you must have changes in the bowel and bladder function, right? Check. Some persons may not have that. And the changes I'm speaking about is anything different to you. Anything that is different to you. That is the important point I want to make here. So you don't eat, as Dr. Nash, you're not promoting doubles here, but you eat a bad doubles or a bad roti, and you go to the toilet, meaning constantly passing urine, constantly having a diarrhea, constantly having a constipation. And you always say, well, really, if I'm having a constipation, go to the doctor. Persons will show up and tell us, tell you, months they are having these changes. For whatever reason, we are still a very close-knit country. And where health is concerned, we rather listen to somebody across the fence than you come to us. If I hold a health clinic in my church, I know who come in already. They don't reach. I know. The number's very small. But when I get to work, so why don't you reach out? Why didn't you say something? Mommy not well, daddy having something. No. We feel as though if we say something, I don't know. Shame, as my mommy say sickness, don't ask for nobody. You don't go in Massey and say, I want a pound of cancer today. Or I want half a quarter pound of diabetes. And while you're at it, put 2 ounces of high blood pressure for me. Sores that do not heal. And this is why I'm saying our lectures so entwined. Diabetics have sores that do not heal. And because we have a high population of diabetics, and in my research with diabetes, I'm speaking to the lone gentleman there, women have diabetes, but they come to hospital. They seek help. What happened to all you guys? You all need to be not so macho. Your husband, your sons, your nephews, we need to speak to them. We need to get them involved. Unusual bleeding or discharge, just as I mentioned, you have a period. It's supposed to run for a certain amount of days. Anything more than that? Right now, a lot of my clients are telling me who took the COVID vaccine, they are having sporadic changes in the menstrual cycle. So I started a research on that. I need to understand what's going on with that. Right? Lump or thickening of the breast or any other part of the body. Indigestion or difficulty swallowing. A recent change in your wart or mole. We like our moles in the Caribbean. I know where every mole on my face is. But that should not change. Because a mole is what we call a benign cancer. It's an abnormal growth. We love it, you look cute. But it's not supposed to happen. But I am very moley. But if it starts to get huge, I need to pay attention. And a persistent cough, what we call the smoker's cough, or a hoarseness. These are signs and symptoms of cancer. We don't know what causes cancer, but you have to look out for these telltale signs. What happened with children, and that little cute boy there is the reason I am here. That's my son. That's my little cutie pie, the strongest person I know. But what happened with children? We tend to take them to hospital sooner than ourselves. And the child, their signs and symptoms are more severe initially. So they have a drastic weight loss. They have high fevers. You will not leave a child home sick. But you may be experiencing the same thing and you would stay home. Funny, eh? So as I mentioned before, we don't know what caused it. It could be everything there, it could be nothing there. But according to the research, these are some of the causes. Lifestyle. Dr. Nash spoke about it nicely. The food we eat in, all this sort of meat and oil and fats and, look at it, a lovely plate, not vegetarian pizza, you know. This is the one with the double cheese. Imagine you putting cheese on fries now. What is that? Cheesy fries. Fries don't bad as it is, you put cheese on it too. And this is some person's diet, you know. This is what they eat breakfast, lunch. Check KFC at 6 and 7 in the afternoon. The Chinese, they bring home this meal and put it on the plate. I thank God every day that I'm an Adventist. I know how to prepare a healthy meal for my family. I heard people in the pandemic was crying. They don't know what to cook. Place close up, people hungry. How did this happen? You get a slow cooker, and while you're watching your Netflix movie, you put your peas in, and you put your onion and your garlic and your ginger, and when you finish, you boil it out, you freeze them. So anytime I feel to make a green peas peel out, I pull out one. All natural. I have my little kitchen garden, and my neighbor owner that's borrowed from. Yeah. And of course, we don't have that problem with the drinking and smoking. But as my husband, he chose someone that did not know that message, so we cannot be biased with our information. We have to share and let them know smoking and drinking. I must say I didn't know the vinegar was fermented alcohol many times over, so I have to go and tell Hossie that one. Right? The environment. Right? Just right down the road, it have a certain house by the cement factory. I don't know how them people breathing. Every time I pass there's one, I'll be worried for them. You come down point, living in Moruga or Miaro, somewhere that have no industry. You know what you would say? This air here thick, Mahalia. I feel uncomfortable. I can't breathe. And I am breathing normal in it. Is it healthy? And then some of us, when we clean so good, because we have to get an award for the cleanest bathroom. So you almost knock out yourself with all the chemical you're using, the Clorox and the pine. And remember, we're doing these things day in, day out, day in, day out. Let us go back. It's the abnormal, uncontrolled growth of cells. So you teaching cancer, don't just get up in the morning, you know. It takes a while. And this is a group of persons I really feel sorry for. Those with the family history. But it's only 15%. And just as we learned this morning, diabetes could be reversed. Not because your mother, your aunt, your father have cancer, you give up and say, well, I go get it just now anyway. I have seen persons who never got it and they had a family history of it and still going strong. That's a lame excuse. That's a cop-out. There's an inherited risk, and what we do, we be more careful with monitoring, with treating, and following up with different screening. But it's not to say, because they have it, I will get it. That is not the case. I shouldn't even talk about the slide. You all should be telling me, because we just had an hour and a half of it. The diet, smoking, obesity. And it is worrisome when we see our little children in school, how they are huge. But what happened in the cafeteria? I remember my son, well, God bless me with another one, music. He went to school a day, and the teacher called me. She said, Mommy, I don't want to embarrass you, but you know, we have juice in school. I want permission to give music a bottle of juice. I was like, why, miss? She said, he's only bring water. I said, yeah. Because the juice he drink is freshly squeezed orange juice with the equal portion of water with no added sugar, Because the last time I checked, the orange have the sugar in it already. So I don't need to add anything in it. And water is very important. He need that. Right now, he's in Form 3. And I put 3 bottles of water in his lunch bag. 3 every day. Because he's playing football, he's playing basketball, in the rhythm section, he's just busy. Still with the water, no juice. You come in my fridge and you see juice, it had to be my mother bring some sorrel that we had to dilute 100 times to drink. All they don't tell she, I say that, eh? If when all they removing the tape, take out that part there. Because I fear my mother the most among everybody. I wouldn't get no more. I want to speak about the second and third hand smoke. Because we don't smoke. That doesn't mean we are not exposed to second and third hand smoke. What is second and third hand smoke? Do we all know someone who smokes and have never seen them smoking? How do we know? The smell? Ah, I love that. Their clothes. You ain't smelling them, but how you know? Okay. Good. Exactly. So, my neighbor, she doesn't smoke. The husband cannot smoke in the house. He can't. But as soon as he comes home from work, this one came off, the television came off. She would give him the child, and he would carry the child for a walk. So this little child, she's been exposed to the second hand, and the child is being exposed to the third hand. And it is equally detrimental as though they put a cigarette in the person's mouth. Funny enough. So we say we don't smoke, but we have to be mindful of your brother who may come and look for you. And I have a brother, from the time he reached, my son started to sneeze. I said, oh gosh, boy, when you would stop do this thing? Right? But we have to talk and we have to continue praying and supporting them as they go along. It's not to judge, but it's to provide the information. I spoke about the air pollution a little bit. I spoke about the chemical exposure and the industrial, so it's like you're winning one way and you're losing another. And COVID taught us that, eh? It showed us how unhealthy we are as a country. We knew it, but it showed the population how unhealthy we are. With all these comorbidities, all those hundreds of conditions that persons are faced with in society. All right, so we spoke about that as well. And this is another one that is propping up mental health. Mental. It have more unstable person outside than inside. We all are struggling. And it is again taboo. We are afraid to say, put up your hand and say, I need help. Stress. Long time, women were basically home. Now, husband and wife working. Child working too. Because when you look at my son's schedule, as I say, until the lesson teacher say, we are Saturday, I say, no. Saturday for you, Sabbath for us. He don't go any lessons on no Sabbath. We are relaxing, the book don't even come out. Because this thing called stress, it comes in and you don't even know. You're fighting to be part of something. You can't even say, listen, this is too much for me. And I thank God again for the husband that he gave me, that he does say, listen to me. Miss Lady, turn off that computer. Because my job, I can go 24/7, 365. But he does come and just he ain't even asking. He just closing it down. He says, after 8, Miss Lady, come on. What did you do for the day? Who do you speak to? You're worried about something, keeping everything inside. Again, according to my mother, everybody business not squeaky clean. So you hiding and trying to pretend, as the young people say, Princess Margaret. When you have a Princess Margaret situation too, it's hard out there. Finances. My husband is self-employed. And the pandemic, it was 2 plus 3 years of no income. And we sat down as a family and said, here what, boss man? Once it have food, we good. We ain't doing nothing else. And we were able to even bless other persons. Once it have a plate of food, we could eat something when the day come. That is our issue. Don't worry about nothing. If we were in the same dress until, so be it. So you're looking at sleep disturbances, poor diet, right? You're looking at all these different issues. My company is going through a reorg right now. Jesus, Lord, everybody's walking on eggshell. People angry. People normally pleasant and nice, just buffing you for no reason. Because they are worried, what am I going to do? But we have faith and we have hope. So we will always have bread. Yeah? So speak about your mental health. Talk to somebody about what is bothering you. You don't need a professional, you know. You just need someone who would listen. So I usually go by my mom, and I let it out. Because it makes no sense by talking with Rodney Alexander. When he see Dr. Nash, I say, look, Shidi. He's like, who? Who is that? I said, can I tell you about that? Really? Boring bad talk, boring. But at least it comes off your chest. And when you speak it out, you realize it's not so bad, you know. But when you're holding it there, it just feel as though it's, oh my God, this thing is the worst thing on the face of the earth. So, I'm jumping into the breast cancer session now. But I want to advise you all to screen. And what do we mean by screening? It's just making sure to know what is going on with you. Every year, you should have a medical done. And don't tell me it costs plenty of money, because it have over 100 health centers in Trinidad and Tobago. And they have different days when you have general clinic, so you could go in and say, listen, I come to check up myself. Either blood tests, either Pap smears, breast examination, you know, whatever it is, you name it, it is available. And too many times we do not realize how much is available. We pay plenty money for those services to be made available to us. You know who making use of it? Everybody up the Caribbean island come down, and from South America come up. And we're sitting down right here and would not go and utilize those services. So I'm imploring you, go check out your health center to get your screening done. At a certain age, Dr. Nash, you say 40? 40 on top of the hill, you're coming down? Go to the health center. Join the clinic. There's male clinic, there are female clinics, there are mixed clinic, open. Open clinics to have your business sorted out. So, as Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's why we screen. And you get the best results when you find out anything early. I left Point, what time? About 10 o'clock, because I did not know where I was coming. And I reached right in front there and I asked somebody where the church is. Why did I do that? I was going good all the time. Right in front here, I asked. And the sign watching me, you know. But I left early, I had enough time, I take my time and drive up the road. No worry, no sorry. Because why? Once you detect anything early, you run also. Suppose I wasn't in the right place, I had sufficient time to turn around and get there on time. I cannot speak about breast cancer and not speak about cervical cancer, because it is just as common. The good thing about cervical cancer, the treatment and the prognosis is really, really good. Because the cells within the cervix is the cells on the same cells on your skin. And you see how long we take to age. So they tend to multiply slower. And it is detected by a Pap smear, which should be done every year. I know persons say 3 years, but I have seen persons who waited 3 years, and when they reach back, there's some changes down there. After if you had a surgery where you remove the womb and everything, you will do something called a vault smear. And if after menopause there's any form of bleeding, do not say you get back young again. That is a red flag. Get to a healthcare practitioner or hospital as soon as possible. That should not happen. That should not happen. That's a red flag. Something is going on there that needs to be checked out. So you have your Pap smear once a year. You can do it on your birthday. You can do it as, well, my sister, she's a school teacher, so when school closed for August holiday, I will be calling her, Nicole, you and your friends coming to check me? And she'll say, yes, we come in so. And because that is the time I book for her during that holiday, because you know we get so busy. And I usually have, sure. That's a very, very, very good question. And the answer is no. The reason being, cervical cancer is a sexually transmitted infection. But there's a flip side. You was in my class. Because what they say, you're a virgin, meaning you never had sex, you will not get cervical cancer, but your risk for breast cancer increase. It's like a car winner. Right? So one risk is low and another risk is high. So I will speak about that when we come into the breast cancer. Right? So in a case like that, I have clients tell me, Mahalia, what are you bothering me for? I close up shop. I ain't doing nothing, husband. Good to go, we back to boyfriend, girlfriend, friend stage. I ain't coming and do a Pap smear. And I would say, listen, probably let me just check here once every 3 years, whatever. And every time it does always be well. It's always be good. But we don't know, You can make a little mischief, and then something happen. But if that is the case, nothing happening like it's a none. Nothing there, no need to. Right, exactly. Good point. Thanks for that question. Yes? As long as you're breathing. Yeah. Yeah. Because as a matter of fact, it's so unfortunate that some persons, as they get older, I don't want to bash anybody, but I can only speak what the research shows and what the information I receive. Most times, not always the female, but the males, because of the ego and everything, they tend to go out with the younger girls, and they will bring it back. So you find we would have been seeing a lot of elderly with cervical cancer as well as HIV and other sexually transmitted infection. So you bring it home now to wife, because you're going out there, you're looking good, you're a young boy, you're feeling good amongst yourself, right? Your wife going through menopause, so you really ain't have no interest there as much. But these young ladies, on the other hand, looking for living, as we just say, they're doing little naughty things, right? So yes, it have no age limit to stop because of that risk where persons can go out and still bring it back in. Yeah. So this, they're just, sure. Mm-hmm. Yes, and they say that, but they are, okay, for instance, this is just a clinic nurse. This is a specialty I am doing, I would have done however long. And we would have seen where persons waited that 2-year, 3-year period. I did my Pap smear 2 months ago. And doctor watched me and said, Mahalia, 3 years, next 3 years. I was like, no, I'll be seeing you next year, God's willing. Every year. Because changes can happen. And because this cervical cancer multiplies so slow, you would not know the change going on. So the most you might get, women will say, I have a little discharge, I smell a little fishy smell, and you use your lemon and your vinegar and everything. And yeah, women tell you these things, and they will ignore it. And by the time they come to us and do the Pap smear and do the colposcopy, which is the other procedure, where we actually look at it with the vinegar, and we make sure you see the changes, we will remove it, and within 3 months, when we look at that same cervix again, it's back to normal. But the thing is, if you wait long, it can go up. And this is where the other organs, like the fallopian tubes and the ovaries and the whole area down there, the spread could take place. Remember, I tell you, these cancer cells are squatters. So they're not going to stay one place for long. Because they use up what they have to use up, they're going to start to travel. They're going to start to travel. Right? They're looking for home. They want to set up shop. So again, the nurse is correct. So you do it, yeah, it's good. But I will advise once it can be done, and especially if you're going to the health center and it's free, the most you have to do is get passage or gas to get there. I would tell you, do it every year. I think you had to press it. You had to press it, right. Mm-hmm. Just the interference, because the cells, the area may be sensitive, and it's just the technique of the persons. Because I remember a lot of women I would have done Pap smears with for the first time were afraid. They hear it so painful, as with mammogram, which we'll speak about with breast cancer. And by the time you finish, so when we're going to start? But I finish. So it's technique again. Probably when I started, I had persons bleeding, because you're learning. It's a skill you have to learn as well. And then some persons are hurried. You have a line up about 50 persons to do Pap smear. You ain't going and sit down and play. So you want to do this thing quickly, so it's more technique than anything else, right? But that in itself should clear up within a few days. However, what we do see, persons have changes and they are already bleeding. Remember with the slide I mentioned before? That is the important slide, the abnormal discharge, abnormal bleeding. So they come in bleeding. They say this period on me for 18 days, 2 months, 3 months. It's scary numbers, And it's not to say, well, why they didn't come? Right? So long you're bleeding and you didn't come and see the doctor, you didn't come and see the nurse, you didn't ask a question. Well, I was afraid. I didn't want to know. So we have to do a Pap smear under those conditions as well. Yeah? Simple little procedure there. All right. Most common cancer in Trinidad and Tobago, we look at the onset, and this is where I'm coming back to your question here, onset of sexual activity. So as I mentioned, I said no. If you have never had sex, you don't need to ever do a Pap smear. But once onset of sexual activity or at age 18. So I'm in a pickle. I'm in a bind. There's a 15-year-old who had a miscarriage. She had an abortion. But her mother doesn't want her to do a Pap smear. But she just had an abortion. What am I to tell the mother? So you have to sit down now and have this type of education, because the horse don't know the stable. Now, I wouldn't say that, but the reality is we can't do a Pap smear on her even though she's 15 years. And we have the vaccines available. But I don't know if you all can remember, a few years ago, it was up in arms where I believe it was the Catholic Church did not want this vaccine. And why they did not want the vaccine? They said they're going to make the children promiscuous. So it was going to give the boys and girls some about age 10 to 13. They said, no, we're not going to give them this vaccine, right? Because they become promiscuous. That is the guarded cell. But where I sit, a 7-month-old was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Where I sit, a wife of 25 years now found out she's pregnant and thinking it's some little bleed because the baby's implanting and say, listen, you have cancer. I would say anything that will prevent you from getting cancer, I am going to take. So that argument didn't hold water with me. And once I advise my clients, I use the research. I don't use my opinion. I use the research because if you're 13 years old, you're 18 years old, you're 25 years old, and you don't have that environment to become promiscuous, it's not going to bother you. And of course, well, a Pap Smear should be done every year. Right, so what you all asked me to come for today, and now doing what I'm getting the pizza for. All these ladies here, you all know them? You know one? You know Rosie? You're our own. What they have in common? What kind of cancer? Breast cancer. Breast cancer. Right? All of these ladies have or had breast cancer. Right. So 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer during a lifetime. 1 in 8 women. And there are more than 8 of us here. And as I was taught in school, who get breast cancer? Anyone with breasts. So males get breast cancer as well. And it is a lot more devastating than even when a female gets breast cancer, because almost should not happen, right? And it is the most common cause of cancer in Trinidad and Tobago account for 25% of all new cancer diagnoses within both sexes, right? So you have the lung cancer, colon cancer, bone cancer, you name it. Breast cancer still comes up the most common one. Risk factors for breast cancer, your age, as you get older. So not because you're 95, you cannot have breast cancer. Probably about 2-3 years ago, my good friend, she was a nurse, but you know, them nurses like to buff up people, and people used to call her hog. So I used to tell her she's a hog bull. I said, you're not a hog, you're a pit bull and a hog. So you're a hog bull. That was my name for her, hoping that she toned down in her demeanor, her mannerism. Because people, the verdict is still out, the jury is still out, if I ever get angry. I do get angry, but I have learned how to, emotional intelligence, not to show anger. And knock on something, I've never buffed or quarreled or anything with no patient. And she was having a difficult time. So she called me and, so I remember I came home the day, and this Netflix thing serious with me. I just planned to watch Netflix. It's bad. And I said, listen, you're going to watch Netflix until midday. I saw she calling and I pick up the phone, and this was her. Mahalia, I need to talk to you. Because I was like, is everything okay? No, everything is not okay, but I need to talk to you. I was like, you want me to come at you? She said, no, I need to talk to you on the phone. I said, what is going on? She was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And she said, I'm the only person who would allow her to cry. Because she had this personality, she's always, she buffing instead of she expose her human side. She have to be tough. So she called me now to allow her to cry. And I must say it was one of the, I've known a lot of persons who had cancers, but hers was a bit emotional for me. Because her daughter just called me the other day. She just finished A-levels, and she said, Auntie, I don't know what to do. but I want to be an oncology nurse. I say, I want you to be an oncology nurse too. Yeah? And she had all the signs and symptoms of this thing here, right? She had the genes, the breast cancer gene 1, breast cancer gene 2. And there's a lot of research in genealogy and immunotherapy and all those things going into cancer. And I believe, this is not research, this is my personal opinion, there's a cure for cancer. I believe that. But when you look at Big Pharma and all the different things, they are not willing to give us that cure. That's why we need to listen to Dr. Nash. Because we can cure ourselves before we get the condition. Yeah. Family history, I mentioned that before. Personal factors like an onset, like an early period, or a late menopause. Being overweight. Using hormone therapy. Birth control. Drinking alcohol. Not having children. Having your first child after age 35. Remember I mentioned that before. So you're good with cervical cancer because you ain't doing nothing down there. But your risk increased because the function of your breast is not being used. And your breast is supposed to make milk. It's supposed to provide nutrition for a baby. Having dense breasts, right? Some people have lumpy breasts, huge breasts. And don't feel because if your chest flat, you don't get breast cancer too, eh? That is not the truth. Once you have breasts, you run the risk of having breast cancer. So what do you do? Yearly mammogram starting at the age of 40 and continue as long as you're in good health. Yeah, so I had my first mammogram just last month because I now cross over 40, right? Right there. Self-breast examination, which research would have shown is so effective because almost every woman or someone, a man as well, male, will say to the doctor, I felt something in my breast. That's what we hear. I felt something in my breast. So if you learn how to do your self-breast examination properly, and as I was taught, you feel with the intent to feel something. You know when you're mixing a nice bake, a nice bread, you take all the corn and you knead in and you go in and you turn them over and you touch them up and you cover them with a little wet cloth and you say, yes. You just know how it will taste before, just the way it need. Or if you hurry, you're studying to iron, cook, and knead, the bread ain't gonna look so hot, eh? Because you just drop it plow. You're feeling with the intent to feel something when you're doing your self-breast examination. And it must be done every single month. Then there's the clinical breast examination where someone like myself, a nurse or a doctor, will do that once a year. But that self-breast examination is very, very important. And any change, you must inform someone. Get to the health center, get to the hospital, get to a private doctor. Especially if you have a family history of it. Because in that case, you would not wait until you're over 40. We will do it earlier. Because I would have seen women 20 years old with breast cancer. So you say, well, here, I say, wait until you're 40 for a mammogram. No, we can't. No, we can't. So this is the self-breast examination I'm speaking about here. First, you have to look to make sure what you're seeing is normal. It's supposed to look normal to you. It's supposed to look normal. What is your normal? So you stand in front of the mirror, and I would have mentioned earlier about the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes, for whatever reason, breast cancer cells like to go to the lymph nodes. So you're not only checking the breast, you check under the arm. And most of the breast is located in a place called the tail of Spence. That is where the arm tissue and the breast tissue meet. You know the Bocas? Who is going to Tobago by boat? And you know when you're in the Bocas? You know when Trinity water and Bago water meet. Yeah? So that tail of Spence, that area there, is where most cancer, and because of the difference in the cells, So it's a lot of things. Once there's some opportunity for this cell to change, it takes that opportunity. You can do this standing, you can do it lying down. But the trick is you use at least 3 fingers. You don't use all. At least 3 of your fingers, and you're using the points, the tips. And you're going wrong in a circular motion. You're coming down. You're going wrong, and you're feeling little portions, you're not touching. Moving nice and smooth. I like to advise women to do it when they are bathing, because it is you're well lubricated. There's water. There is soap, so it's quite comfortable. It's not dry. It's not painful. And this is the changes you're looking for. You're looking for any redness. You're looking for any dimpling. So that little thing to the second picture there. You're looking for any lump. You can see that lump there. And by the time it starts to reach to the 5th one there, thing bad. Right? And most times, women wait until their breasts get to that state, which we call pure the orange. It looks like a grapefruit, an orange. Things really bad. The nipple go back inverted. And let me make a point here. Breast cancer is most times not painful. It's not painful. So it's quite to the end you will get the pain. So that lump lying dormant there for months, sometimes years. So look at these changes. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're feeling for. Do not wait until it reaches there. If you stand up and you find one looking more down south than the other, come to the hospital too, because it should be a little difference, but not to the point where one standing up and the other one, no. My niece, my sister-in-law called me, she said, listen, now she's now going into puberty. So the hormone was high and all over the place. I said, this is normal, but we are not going to sit down and say it's normal. So we did take her to the doctor. She had the ultrasound. She had everything, and eventually, after a while, it evened out. I could have said, well, that's normal. No, we didn't even say that. We worked and we went ahead. You never know what could happen. Right? So what is this doing here? This was supposed to be down to the end. Right. So I'm not going to repeat all the lovely information Dr. Nash gave to us, because then I wasn't listening to her if I come to say the same things. Right, so you're looking at your diet and your cancer-fighting substances, your antioxidant, right, your fibers, right, all the healthy stuff that she would have mentioned, your fruits and your vegetables daily. And she gave us the time when to eat it, right? So you're not having banana at a certain time. When you're having the banana, let me see who was listening. Breakfast, right. Mm-hmm. Be active often. So lunchtime and 5 o'clock is my time to exercise. Half of the thing they're doing, I don't know how to do it. Up to now, I don't know how to do our burpees, but I'm being active. Be active. You're not training like Jereme Richards to win no 100 and 200, but be active. And she told us to walk for an hour, and if you have plenty of time, walk for another hour in the evening. Those things are so healthy. It gets all your numbers down. And while I'm at it, the Ministry of Health is pushing 7,000 steps a day. If you, what they said, 7,000 steps a day, keep the doctor away. And you know, when you could do 7,000 steps a day, 10,000 does look like a joke. You start to make it 10,000 easy. What I do, I park far. Unless when I go to work and rain is falling and I really need to be close. So I get my walk in. Because when I'm in the office, I tend to sit down. The other thing is water. I want no drink, I want no fruit, I want nothing. And if I need to print something, I'm going to the printer quite down the corridor. So a little strategies. And when I get home, I do my little evening thing to keep active. It does make you feel good. It does make you look good. People can't guess your age. And when you take a little blood test, the numbers correct. And all these evil diseases, not here. And you have to make it a habit, eh? This is not today I will do it correct. This is a habit every single day. I remember my son was diagnosed. I stopped use all pack seasoning in my house. So a lot of times when persons eat food by me, it's like, this thing tasting different. I say, yeah, because it's pimento, chive, celery, onion, ginger. Those are my pack seasoning. I even want it in the pack. I'm making oats porridge. I go by the neighbor, tell the tree good night, take 2 bay leaf, come and put it in the pot. Yeah, my mom is Tobagonian, so that's the Tobagonian all you're hearing in me here. You have to say good night. Right? And if you know how nice these things are taste, you take up your prunes for your sugar. When you're making a nice, you know, your husband like punch and thing, your little beetroot and thing, you ain't put no sugar in that. Right? And make the thing nice. It have a mint tree in the back by my father-in-law. I borrow real fruits and vegetables, all you realize, eh? I just give them back. Because when I plant my okra and thing, they come and borrow by me. Right? So, yes. So, treatment. But if we do all of those things, we shouldn't reach here, right? You all agree with me? Yeah, so this is my last slide, by the way. And conventionally, well, I think Joe could invite Dr. Nash to tell us about the natural therapy for cancer, and I would definitely make the trip up to here because I know it is they have a whole different thing that they do, right? But where I stand, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. And of course, I said in more newer type of treatment, in natural therapy. So some persons will say to us, Mahalia, we don't want all the chemo. And we cannot be upset with them. But the thing is, you cannot use the two. Am I correct? You cannot use the two. You cannot say you're using natural and then you're using chemo. Choose one, because it's going to cause some trouble. Yeah? All right, so this is me. Thank you for having me. And I'll entertain if you all have any questions before. I know you all probably really need to go eat your pizza. Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
And she was only 36.
Yeah.
And
boy.
they gave her the chemo, but it was in time.
Mm-hmm.
Was it too much, or what caused it to?
Chemotherapy destroys good, bad, and indifferent cells. Chemotherapy doesn't have a guide as compared to radiation that have a specific area it treats. But chemotherapy destroys every single cell. Hence, if you look at the picture with my son, he had bald head, right? So it takes the hair from this eyebrow, eyelashes, everything. It also damages the cells in the mouth. So a lot of times they have blisters. Chemotherapies are painful, trying, challenging experience. And a lot of patients will say to me, maybe I rather the cancer kill me, because chemo might kill me too. Because it's very, and we have to counsel and guide and hold hands, and you need all the support. So my same girlfriend, when she had chemotherapy, she wasn't eating. She would never eat because she had no taste in her mouth. Picture you have the cold. When you have the cold, your cells, the inflammatory process, causes the cells not to do what they're supposed to do. So you have no taste. You lost that sense of taste and sometimes that sense of smell. So what happens, this is chemotherapy all the time. Once the person is under chemotherapy. So you have the cold for a few days and it comes back. But with chemotherapy, you're feeling like that all the time. What are you going to eat? You're not going to feel to eat. So most of the times they'll eat fruits and highly seasoned food. So what I used to do, I used to season the fish, my natural seasoning and what I borrow from my neighbors, put it in my cooker there, steam it, but not too dry, and feed her. And literally, when I'm feeding her, she's putting her head up in the air because she said it's smelling and she don't want to taste it, and it was horrible. Chemotherapy did that. But you had to eat because your body needs the nutrition to fight. So, chemotherapy. Of course. So it's something we call a protocol. So every time you start chemotherapy, they will design a plan or a protocol for you according to the cancer, the location, if it have any spread. And the medication will be in a certain amount of doses. However, if you're losing weight, so you took the first chemotherapy, you was weighing 150 pounds. By the time you come back in about a 3-week period, you're down to 120. We have to now recalculate how much, and we will decrease it. But beside your lost weight, your immune system is down. You're not eating. So what are you really going to fight with? And as I mentioned, with this COVID, it shows us how unhealthy we are. So a lot of persons also diagnosed with other diseases inside of a cancer diagnosis, like high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid. So you're taking medication for all those things now. So it's a really trying time. But we try as best as we can. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Amen. Nice to have you, sister. Yeah.
All right, and it's just when I'm saying something to you, that because sometimes you become very fearful.
Yes.
Some people are afraid to talk about it. Some people are afraid to, like a hush hush.
Hush, hush, why?
And I don't find myself, sometimes I think I'm walking,
Come on, amen.
is that to encourage other people as well to go through.
Amen. Amen. Back. Oh. Dave. Chemo. Nice. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is, wow. It have some spread now. Stage 4. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So the cancer genes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Make it brittle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Before we give you that, correct? Yes. Yeah. On. Amen. Amen. That is the attitude. No, I like your attitude. Yeah. concern. Right. Yes. Acting up. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. It's a journey. It's a journey. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Amen. Two. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, sister. What I will do, I will have a conversation with the nurses at St. James, because most of them are my batchmate. Where we may fall short, we're supposed to have the proper referral for the dietitian to have the conversation. Because you're in a clinic and to sit down and really diet plan and go through it, all the dietetics that you would need may be a lot. So it's not that they don't know, they cannot do it at that particular time, and they should have made the referral already for you to sit down and have a comp, and the dietitian have to meet you on your terms. Because a lot of time dietitian want to tell you about diet in America or England. Where I talk about pomsity, how to make pomsity juice, how to make sorrel juice, all these different things. Hibiscus, whatever it may be, the natural things here, then you get a diet that you're really going in massy and you're like, really? And when you see the exorbitant price, now you're like, really, I can't afford that. So that kind of conversation must be had. It so happened my girlfriends are in charge there, so I'll have that conversation. Make sure and give me a name before I leave. Right? You need to have that referral done. Because diet is, beside the cancer, whatever the medication does, the issue most time is poor diet, people not eating properly. And you can't fight if you don't have proper nutrition. Yeah. 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 So time for me to say bye-bye. Well, I'll be here, right? So I'll turn you all over to Sister Jo, and thank you all for having me again. But my boyfriend and them, I want to come off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone is hearing me? No? Okay, you all are hearing me, right? So we would like to thank Sister Alexander, Nurse Alexander, Nurse Mahalia, for such a salient and wonderful presentation. Not only one that was salient, but it hit home. And it shows, you know, the genuineness of the conversation. Quickly, we'd just like to do a few tokens of presentations to the two speakers. So I'd like to ask Sister Campbell to help me. So one thing about CUVA, we like to give good gifts. I know that is one thing we like to do. So when thinking of a token, we wanted to give something tangible that you would remember us and something that would last. And considering the background that you all would have given us, I think these things are fitting. And we know as a result of the budget, super went up a lot. So we wanted to give you all a small token to put the gas back for coming to Cuba, right? So, Dr. Nash, I really, really appreciate your knowledge, and you express it in such a graceful way. And we we need to put you in the camera. And on behalf of, well, the pastor of our church, Pastor Morris, myself as the health director, and on behalf of the entire health team, you know, they did so much to get this event on foot. And we would just like to say thank you for the information given, and thank you that we can even contact you in the future for more light as we carry not just the gospel but the health message to have better bodies so that we can better serve. So thank you, and we hope you enjoy your rosemary and basil. Mint, sorry. Yes. So thanks again. And now for Sister Mahalia. 1 second. Yes. We don't want that. So you have your rosemary and your basil. Chocolate mint. And you were just talking about your bay leaves. Now you can add it. You could, coast on your neighbor now. So, on behalf of the Pine SDA Church, from our pastor, myself, and the entire health team, we'd just like to take this time to thank you for coming to church, on Sunday with us and to give us such salient, important information. We hope you enjoy it and, your token of appreciation in terms of gas. Thank you for coming, yes. Well, we have Sister Campbell as well, but we will hand her that in the back. So sorry, I just mix up the names plenty, like I getting old. Sister Clark, what going on, girl? So, Vicky, could you come, please? Yes, Vicky is my favorite person. I think if she had a son my age, she'd have put me with him. Right, so Vicky did something really special, which I truly appreciate. It's breast cancer awareness, and she just wanted to give a token of appreciation to all the women who decided to come, and we would just like to quickly give them out. We want to thank you for contributing this, and yes, so we'll just call you all up, and she would hand it out to you, okay? Or anything, yeah. So she would come around and give you a small token of appreciation for coming and something that you can use, to enhance your hygiene. Women's health is extremely important, so we hope that you will. True, I agree. But those that are here could inform those that are not here, So yes. Are we not leaving out the men, Brother Hewitt and Brother Philip, I think they said? You all will also get your tokens, yes. So yes, after those things are distributed, we'll pray and proceed to the back so you can have a taste of the bread. While we came in front, there was a vegan egg that was cooked, some butter that you can leave with, and we really hope that you enjoy the event, and that, one of the most important things is putting into practice. Step by step here, a little, there a little, precept on precept. We would provide you with the recipes. So for the persons that registered, I have your emails. For the persons that did not register but would like the recipes, give me your cell number, right? And for the members of the church, we'll also put like a leaflet in the Pioneer Church group, okay? Yes. So could we just bow our heads and close our eyes so that we can pray and end our service. And for those viewing online, we want to thank you for joining us. The blessing of being in person was that you got your token. So if you're not here, well, I don't know what to say. So let's just bow our heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that you are God who is interested in every aspect of our lives. Spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally, you are interested in all dimensions, and we thank you that we have persons who would have gone to school and have the necessary wisdom to implement and to give us so that we can apply it to our lives. Our bodies are the temple of God, and that is not just so that the Holy Spirit could dwell, but we can have the necessary energy and tenacity to go about our day-to-day activities, and not just that, to evangelize. So we pray that even now your Spirit would come down and pour upon us the fulfillment of that promise that says, you wish that we prosper and be in good health. So we claim, we decree, and we declare that you would have given us and bestowed that promise to us. Where we are lacking, we pray that you would give us the wisdom to do what is necessary to do better. And may all these things work for time and eternity so that we can all see each other. And things that we can't fix here, we know it would be fixed in the earth made you. So be with us as we proceed to the back and bless us as a church and as individuals. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.